Hi everyone, it's Suzanne and welcome to the Numerology and the Astrology for 5/26/2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get a 17, and if you add the 1 and the 7, you get the number 8. Now, the number 8 is the number of prana and yoga and breath and pranayams, and it's the number also of sadness and grief and loss. And so if you don't breathe, there's this part of you that can't be sad, because if you breathe deeply, you'll be like, like this. And so, I want everybody to breathe at the moment because things are continuing to be intense. And I want you to breathe in the springtime. The weather is warming up and there's a change in the air. And as we move towards this full-fledged springtime, I want you to take it in, like breathe it in. So my garden is the best it has ever been. I have mended fences to keep the deer out, and there is much to appreciate if you look past the obvious. Everyone breathe. The number 8 is about inhaling, exhaling. Your body is constantly embracing the process of life, of breathing in, life, and death, breathing out. In every moment, your body embraces both. It is time that our minds and hearts do the same. There are many things right now that seem hard, and that there are many that are deeply suffering because of the cascading factors in this world. You have to learn in life how to cope when things are not optimal. While that is hard, it is your ego that makes such moments more difficult. Notice your control patterns and habits that are disrupted right now because of all of this. Notice that on many levels you are okay and safe. Notice you do not have perhaps the things that you want, but notice that you actually need to survive and thrive, and those things you actually do have. So egos are learning to take a back seat to the soul, and I believe that is a very good thing. The ego is there to protect the soul, not to control that same soul. Can you retain your wildness and freedom within without being able to do the things that used to define you? Of course you can. Wildness lives within each of us. Some are afraid of that wildness and stuff it deep down inside to wait for perfect conditions before it comes out. And only then will they let it out. That is not the best way. In some, you can see that wildness in the eyes that are observing and watching everything, missing nothing. A hunter watching prey even when that prey is behind glass. A wild hunter watches for the patterns and behaviors in this world and notices those sequences. They familiarize themselves with the unique characteristics of others and make mental notes that are useful for another time. Real wildness is patient, calculating, and present. It does not require a particular set of perfect circumstances, because real wildness takes opportunity when it presents. Real wildness can manifest opportunity by being totally aware and present. And real wildness is forever free inside, regardless of the man-made circumstances in life on the outside. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in that naturally occurring wildness in your soul. I guarantee that any sadness or depression will fall away in the process. So I'm going to tell a brief story here about working with Rudolf Nureyev. And so Rudolf Nureyev and I were friends. We danced together in the Berlin Ballet, and we hung out together. And he had a wildness inside of him. So when he would come on stage, it was like this animal. It was like this beautiful, muscled animal coming on stage that commanded the presence. And he said to me, if you want to stay in the court of ballet, stay in line. And I was like, okay. And he said, if you look into the eyes of principal dancers, and if you look into the eyes of Tom Cruise or Jack Nicholson, what you see is a wildness in their eyes. And there is something that is always watching you that is wild, and it is not contained. And it is very aware that it is watching you the entire time. And it's not asleep. It's completely awake. And it lives just subtly behind and underneath the senses, but it is right there. And so if you look at really amazing actors and actresses, performers, there is this wildness that is in their eyes that comes out their eyes, and they let it out their eyes. I notice, because of what Rudolf Nureyev said, that how many people are glazed over. They're like asleep. They're like dull. They're not really there. They're not really looking at you. They're not even really fully present themselves. So how could they notice or see anything else happening in the world or in other people, because they're so kind of caught in their own storm of emotion and chaos. And so I think this is a perfect time to let the wildness out of your face, out of your eyes. When I would stress out when I was a ballet dancer, my favorite thing to do was to go to Zion National Park, and they have rivers there that they have these round stones, and I would pick up a stone and label the stone and then throw it into the water and scream bloody murder, and just keep doing that until I got all of this out. And I think we are so caught as a society in suppressing emotions and feelings, and that does not give you permission to throw your emotional state on others. Let's be very specific. You can throw it on a rock and throw the rock into a river, but it is completely socially, especially now, energetically inappropriate to lambaste the world and others with your anger, frustration, and disowned emotions. And that is not what I'm talking about. I am not talking about letting that kind of insanity out. I am talking about connecting with that wildness. Like, when was the last time you ran at full tilt boogie as fast as you could for as long as you could? When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you uncorked and just let yourself go? Dance until you were exhausted, sing until you couldn't sing another note. Like, when was the last time you let yourself out? And that is breath, that is prana, that is what we're talking about here with the number 8. The astrology today. With the moon in Cancer, check in with those you love and check in with your own heart. I know that sometimes everyone needs a little care and touch, and especially you. Okay, the moon opposes Pluto and then later Jupiter, and you may feel the karmic tension continuing to build. Life is demanding more and more of you in different ways than ever before, and you have much to do. Take up those challenges and do it with gusto and embrace each and every moment. You are being given a rare opportunity to step past all your old habits. If there was ever a moment that you could become who you really wanted to be, then this is that moment. I am sure that a moment such as this is not going to come again once this energy shifts. So let go, perform all the responsibilities with a smile on your face and a joy in your heart, but also try lots of new things, like break out of sugar addiction, break out of caffeine addiction, break out of these habits that actually are not working for you. Realize that your relationships are still there for you, but you have to find those places inside that feel pride and you're in your accomplishments. Put effort into all those things that matter to you the most. Mercury forms a quincunx to Jupiter today, and you might hesitate and waver in your convictions and confidence. Know that all choices are not optimal, but they can be wholly satisfying if you commit, decide, and then act. There might be a few things that you take on that are too much and too hard, and that's okay. Stop and reevaluate things and then try again, or let it go. Knowing the details is critically important right now before you take on certain things. The moon will go into Leo as you fall asleep tonight, but tomorrow it will give you much more confidence and ways to express yourself. This moon reminds us all that life is one big stage, and we are all just actors playing parts in this show. Notice what part you are playing. Notice if you do not like it. Then change your character into a hero or a villain, depending on your mood and needs. My quote for today: real wildness is patient, calculating, and present. It does not require a particular set of perfect circumstances, because real wildness takes opportunity when it presents. Real wildness can manifest opportunity by being totally aware and present, and real wildness is forever free inside regardless of the man-made circumstances in our life. Okay, so my metaphor today that I was playing with was, have you ever walked across one of those long rickety bridges in the middle of nowhere? They are always placed in the most treacherous places, like over raging rivers and chasms, and they're in these remote places where you will have no other option. And those things scare me to death. I have had to walk myself across many of them, and I've had to talk myself across many of them too. And I have to look straight ahead and never ever look down. There are moments that I have to place my hands on the shoulders of others to guide me across, especially if they are really long or they're really deep. There are moments in life that your path must go across formidable obstacles. There are moments that your choices are limited. There are moments when everything inside tells you that this is a really bad idea, and yet you must cross those rivers and canyons. Life is filled with those places to cross that seem impossible to your mind and your old self. There is often a path, but that path requires you to face your fear, to do the unimaginable, to do something heroic. Such is this moment in time. The path ahead is not one you would want to choose. You might prefer to go back the way you came. You might want to go back to that hut where you believed you were safe. You might want to find another way around, even if it takes a long time. You may want to do anything but face the harsh reality that there is but one way, one path, and that is right in front of you over that rickety bridge. This is the raw and real truth right now. You cannot go back. You cannot delay. And time is of the essence. People are depending on you. Facing fear is terrifying. But once faced, you realize a huge difference between real fear and imagined fear. You recognize that you will have to deal with both, regardless. But it helps to know the difference. Never let fear paralyze you. Never let fear stop you from your life's mission and purpose. Never let the fears of others define or limit you. Never stop moving towards your potential, even if you cannot reach it in this lifetime. In your life, there will be many rivers and chasms to cross. Face the fear and step onto that rickety bridge. Don't look down, look straight ahead, and you will discover that you have what it takes to face everything that arises in your life. Thanks, everybody.